you're so involved in the custom bike world and maybe some future trends that you see just emerging right now, what are those trends?
To say the first thing is horsepower never goes out of style. You know, this matrix thing where super true performance is going to be a bigger factor that goes across the country. Like right now it seems to be a California thing, an Arizona thing, some guys on the East Coast, kind of like how, you know, it's big wheel bagger started the same way and fat tire chopper started the same way, and then the middle of the country will get that in years to come. So I think that's not going to cool off.
They weren't just all a show, you know. It's easy to put the parts on and make it look real pretty, but they were actually performing to a level of what they looked like.
Like I said, the bike show scene, you know, the aftermarket guys, the fabricators, the people that really bring those bikes to life, you know, this was like a whole blank canvas for them, and they're really still learning, you know, what is the proper rake on the front ends to get the most ground clearance out of the bike? Where can you go so that the primary doesn't drag? They're looking at things in a completely different light right now.
I think the biggest thing that the naysayers right now is, wow, that's kind of an oxymoron. You know, you got a bagger, but you're making a performance bagger.
How comfortable are baggers to ride, period?
Yeah.
They are a very comfortable bike. You know, they're like a couch on wheels, right? But when you can make that also a performance-inspired vehicle and actually go out and frickin' slam some gears and haul some ass and then still have your stuff in your frickin' your saddlebags, right? And then get there and pull off on this frickin' badass machine that you were just so comfortable on, but actually out-cornered half these frickin' cars. Why the hell not?
I think you just hit it, Justin.
Don't keep your mind closed, man.
Turnbull Canyon Road, a rare twisty road that's situated in the heart of Los Angeles County that connects Whittier to Hacienda Heights. Motorsports enthusiasts see it as an unlikely 3 miles of enjoyment within an urban jungle. Alright guys, let me give you a walk around on this 2020 model year, a Road Glide Special Performance Bagger. This bike represents probably the sickest bike that's ever left our shop. In my opinion, this is literally my dream bike. We built this bike for one of our Texas customers. I want to thank John for allowing me to feature his bike on the YouTube channel here and say thank you for your patience. It took us a really long time to build this bike. It was during COVID and we were sourcing parts from all over the world for this thing. This is pretty much an all-in, no expense spared bike. And just to give you guys a little bit of a background on this to understand, you know, what the criteria and priorities were when we were building it. This was a bike that definitely wanted to go all in with the performance bagger theme, but at the same time, this is built with daily riding in mind, so we didn't want to compromise any of the utility or function to it. So this is a very streetable bike and a bike that can be used for more than just your track days. At the heart of the motorcycle, we used Harley-Davidson's 131 cubic inch Screaming Eagle Stage 4 build. Of course, the special start is a 114 from the the factory, so built up with the top end kit from a 114 to a 131. For those of you who aren't really familiar with this kit and the type of power delivery that it produces, this is definitely a bike that favors the top end. If you're someone that's been riding Harley-Davidson motorcycles for a long time, you can pretty much take where you typically be within the RPM spectrum and increase that by 1,000 RPM, and that's where you'll be sitting right. I feel like a good cruising RPM on a regular M8 from the factory is about 3,000 RPM. That's where you start to have good access to power, where the throttle becomes very responsive. On this bike, a comfortable engine cruising speed is about 4,000 RPM. Sucking in air for this beast is the MJK air cleaner. This is a super nice CNC aluminum piece here. It's got that clear side panel so you can see the brim of the intake manifold on there. Definitely a cool performance inspired piece. The bike's got several touches throughout the bike, like the lower rocker box covers, the internals there on the air cleaner, like the stitching on the seat and the emblems all matching gold. So our powder coater and the other aftermarket guys that did those other little highlights on the bike, we made sure that they matched the Öhlins gold on the front forks. Next up, let's talk about carbon fiber. So as we were discussing carbon fiber and the usage of it, the owner of the bike didn't want to go all in on the carbon fiber and just make it one big solid ball of carbon fiber. So we decided to be a little bit more tactful about it. So we decided to use about 50% of the bodywork has carbon fiber on it to give like that contrast between the vivid black factory paint and the carbon fiber bodywork. Personally, I think it came out beautifully. I love the mixing and the matching of the two. So we use DTF carbon fiber, great company by the way. The quality of their carbon fiber they produce is really top notch as well. Can't be happier with them. So the outer shell of the front fairing is all DTF carbon fiber there. The tops of the saddlebag lids are, the front and the rear fender are also carbon fiber, and then we have a carbon fiber center console. So the inner fairing, the gas tank, and the saddlebag bottoms and the side covers, those are just the factory bodywork. Let's talk suspension for a little bit. So we wanted to go all in on the full Öhlins. So the Öhlins suspension in the front end kit that we got was built by Big Bear Performance. So they assemble the front ends and distribute the rear shocks as well. They also have their remote reservoir mounting brackets as well that go underneath the saddlebags back there. Really slick look and nice way to mount them. Their front fork kit includes monoblock radial mount Brembo brakes. We use Galfer front rotors. All really nice racing rated stuff. A nice inverted Öhlins front end like this is really what separates the men from the boys when it comes to performance baggers. We took it a step further and did the +3 inches on the forks to give the bike even more suspension travel and an increased lean angle. For the front headlamps, we used the dual Baja Designs LP6s. We mounted those with a Big Bear Performance bracket as well. If you look directly at these lights, they'll literally burn your retinas off your eyeballs. They're so bright. For the front windshields, we used the Clockworks windshield. For bars, we used the one and only Kraus, my personal favorite T-bar riser setup. These are 12-inch black straight risers, and they're mounted with the T-Rex pullback plate that's also provided by Kraus. Of course, we had to recable the brake and the clutch line here. We used a 1-inch Flymoto bar that's recommended by Kraus. We had it powder coated the Öhlins gold to match the rest of the gold highlights throughout the bike. The seat is a custom BMC Corbin seat with a 2-inch setback. It's got the diamond stitch pattern in the rider's saddle, and the stitching is in the Öhlins gold. And then the back body where the passenger would sit, that's almost like this carbon fiber inspired design back there. We got a fender mounted contoured license plate frame on there. Stretching from the bottom of the shark nose fairing is Harley-Davidson's Fangs spoilers. For turn signals in the front, we used an Alloy Art Road Glide turn signal. It's like a really slick bullet style turn signal. In the rear, we used a custom Dynamics like filler strip that's similar to the lighting on a CVO where it fills the space between the rear fender and the saddlebags. For foot and hand controls, we used the Harley-Davidson Endgame collection. So you've got the Endgame grips and the Endgame floorboards, both for the rider and the passenger. You've also got the Endgame shifter pegs and the rear brake pedal. The Endgame has very much like that moto-inspired style, which is real popular among the performance bagger crowd. I personally really like the industrial look of these pieces as well. On a performance bagger, you gotta have a 2-in-1 exhaust. It's kind of gospel. We switched the OEM stretched bags that come on the Road Glide Special with short bags that come on the Road Glide Standard. So you don't have those 2 holes coming out the back of the bike that are created by the stretched bags. It always looks a little bit funky when you have the left side hole that's empty, since we're not running a 2-in-1 into 2 exhaust. We've used this SNS pipe before and we're real happy with the way it runs, the way it looks, and the way that it sounds. Under the bike is the MJK GP swing arm. This is made from an aircraft grade aluminum with a stainless steel axle. We got it directly from MJK in the gold color. It turned out to be a pretty dang good match as well to stay uniform with the rest of the gold highlights on the bike. This is definitely a beautiful piece. One of the priorities on this bike was to keep it a belt drive. However, this swing arm is only set up to be used with a chain drive, so we actually had to do some machining to make this swing arm be compatible with the OEM belt. We've also got the rear Brembo brake caliper on there as well. The wheels we used was a genuine Harley-Davidson Fugitive wheel. These wheels can be found on the CVO Street Glide. We got those in a black finish. Some people might ask, well, why didn't you do a carbon fiber wheel? We didn't want to mess with the geometry and the specs of Harley-Davidson's OEM stuff on key components on the bike. We just felt like a vital component like the wheels we didn't want to mess with, and we wanted to rely on Harley-Davidson's R&D. That and the wheel style on these is just absolutely beautiful, and they look amazing going down the road. For the rear mirrors, we've got the Harley-Davidson Genuine Profile mirror. The CVO style tank emblems are made by a guy named Harley Rebus. As you can see here, we have a custom outline of the bar and shield in carbon fiber highlighted on the edges with that Öhlins gold once again. The bike also has Harley-Davidson's chopped tour pack as well, just in case the owner of the bike wants to take a road trip. To continue with the race-inspired performance theme of the bike, we wanted to relocate the gauges in a little bit more of a heads-up position. We went with Big Bear Performance's gauge relocation kit that utilizes the stock tack and speedo. It definitely keeps the gauges in the rider's line of sight and allows him to see what the engine's doing at a quick glance. Harley-Davidson's advertised dyno numbers are 121 horsepower at the rear wheel and 131 foot-pounds of torque. This kit is definitely designed to be running wide open throttle and higher RPM. Revving it out and banging gears out on the freeway is where the fun zone is on this thing. So we definitely wanted to make every aspect of this Road Glide all performance driven. So we didn't stop at the braking, the engine, or the suspension. We decided to go all in on the stereo as well. So equipped on this bike is Harley-Davidson's Boom Audio Stage 2 speakers in the front fairing. It's also equipped with the WIM, which gives you the wireless headset capability as well. So I wanted to give you guys my thoughts after riding the bike a couple hundred miles over the course of a few days. First off, I'm a believer in the Screaming Eagle stuff. If you're a regular consumer, regular rider, it makes a lot of sense just from a warranty standpoint and just taking advantage and the benefit of a kit coming from the guys who actually designed the engine. Are you going to be able to go out to the Bagger Racing League or Moto America and win races on something like this? No, of course not. The guys that ride and race out there have engines that produce a lot more power, but are also a heck of a lot more unstable because they push the limits on them. I would say on this engine, you've got to be a pretty aggressive, active rider to really get the benefit out of this motor. If you're a casual Harley rider that doesn't want to put in the effort to downshift and make sure you're in the right gear at the right time, then this kit may not make a whole lot of sense to you. But if you're someone that has a whiskey throttle and really likes to rev out the engine, and then the Stage 4 Screaming Eagle 131 could make a lot of sense for you. One of the big things too that I don't think a lot of people talk about is your ability to adjust the suspension. If I'm going to be doing more spirited riding through the canes or something like that, you can stiffen this thing up and make it handle a lot better through the turns. But if I'm going to go on a road trip and log hundreds of miles out on a straight freeway, I can also soften it up quite a bit and just give it like a Cadillac type ride. The fact that we went to +3 on the front forks also gives it additional lean angle. And although I don't have the exact lean angle measurement, I could definitely feel this bike was more capable of aggressive leaning through the turns. And although I don't think the stock brakes on a touring chassis bike is bad at all, these brakes did have a more heavy duty feel to them, a little bit more of a progressive feeling, and with the bigger, larger Galfer rotors, you can tell it's a lot less susceptible to brake fade. can definitely say I didn't ride this bike to its mechanical limits. One, I'm probably not a good enough rider, and two, I didn't want to push a bike like this that I didn't own to its cutting edge limits. Like I said, if I had an unlimited budget and I was going to build a bike tomorrow, this would probably be the exact bike that I would build. Baggers have always been my personal favorite bike for a number of reasons, and now you combine that with all the performance elements of something like this, and for me it's just kind of the perfect recipe. I feel like the performance baggers really started hitting mainstream about 3 years ago or so, and in my opinion we're only getting started. With the adoption of the King of the Baggers in the Moto America circuit and the birth of the Bagger Racing League, I think the popularity of this type of a bike is only going to get stronger. In the last 20 years it's been really interesting to see the custom world adapt and show favor to certain things. I think the last really big trend in the bagger world was what a lot of people refer to as the big wheel bagger. A lot of the shrouding, like the tank shrouds, stretched bags, huge front wheels, a million speakers all over the bike. If the bike went fast too, that's great, but really it was all about show. But we've definitely reached a point now where we're in a new era. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear people's opinions about the performance baggers. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Are you someone that would just say go buy a Softail? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. As always, if you're looking for a motorcycle in Southern California, hit us up here at Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson, where we have absolutely no dealer markup, no dealer fees of any type. If you liked the video, consider giving me a thumbs up on there. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button to check out all my future Harley-Davidson content. Later.